Imagine waking up 10 years from today. You walk into your kitchen, pour a cup of coffee, and sit down to check your bank account. And you realize nothing has changed. Same stress, same worries, same fear of the unexpected, same feeling that you are running on a treadmill that never stops. Now imagine a different version of that morning. You wake up in a house you own, with no mortgage, no debt, no financial stress. You pour your coffee, and you realize you do not have to go anywhere today. You do not have to report to anyone, because your money works for you. You do not work for money. What separates these two futures is not income, is not intelligence, is not luck. It is something far more powerful and far more hidden. It is how you think about money, and that is what we are going to uncover today. / There is a secret that wealthy people know, that the rest of the world never figures out. Money is not about math. It is about psychology. It is about fear, greed, patience, ego, shame, pride, and 100 other invisible forces that drive your financial decisions. You can know everything there is to know about investing. You can understand compound interest. You can read every financial book ever written, and you can still make terrible decisions with money, because when it comes to money, logic rarely wins. Emotions almost always win. / Let me tell you about two people. Both are 45 years old. Both have successful careers. Both earn over $200,000 a year. But their financial lives could not be more different. The first person, we will call him James, has been earning a high salary for 20 years. He lives in a beautiful house, drives an expensive car, takes lavish vacations, wears designer clothes. On the outside, James looks successful. He looks wealthy, but here is the truth. James is broke. He has almost nothing in savings. He has a mountain of debt, and he is living paycheck to paycheck, just like someone making $40,000 a year. The second person, we will call her Sarah, earns the same amount as James, but she lives very differently. She lives in a modest house, drives a reliable car that is 10 years old, takes simple vacations, and wears comfortable clothes. On the outside, Sarah looks ordinary. She looks like she is just getting by. But here is the truth. Sarah is wealthy. She has over $1 million in investments. She has no debt. And she could quit her job tomorrow and live comfortably for the rest of her life. Same income. Completely different financial realities. What is the difference? The difference is psychology. James spends money to look rich. Sarah saves and invests money to become rich. James cares about what other people think. Sarah cares about her own financial freedom. James is trying to impress people he does not even like. Sarah is building a life she actually wants to live. / Here is something that might disturb you. Most people will never become wealthy, not because they cannot, but because they refuse to admit what is really holding them back. They blame the economy. They blame their boss. They blame their circumstances. But the truth is, the biggest obstacle to your wealth is the person you see in the mirror every morning. The decisions you make, the habits you have, the beliefs you carry, those are what determine your financial future. Not the stock market, not your salary, not your luck, you. And until you accept that, nothing will change. / Let us start with a simple question. Why do smart people make terrible money decisions? Think about it. Some of the most intelligent people on the planet have gone bankrupt. Mathematicians, engineers, doctors, even Nobel Prize winners. People who understand complex equations, who can solve problems that most of us cannot even comprehend. And yet, they fail with money. How is that possible? Because money is not a math problem. It is a human problem. It is about emotions, about impulses, about the wiring of your brain. / Let me give you a classic example. Imagine the stock market crashes. It is down 30%. Panic is everywhere. News channels are screaming about the end of the world. The logical thing to do, the mathematically correct thing to do, is to buy. Stocks are on sale. If you buy when the market is down, you will make money when it recovers. That is the rational decision. But what do most people do? They panic. They sell. They lock in their losses. and they swear they will never invest again. Why? Because fear is more powerful than logic. The emotional pain of watching your portfolio drop is so intense that people would rather avoid that pain, even if it means losing money in the long run. Forward slash forward slash. On the other hand, think about what happens when the stock market is going up. Everyone is making money. The news is positive. Everyone is talking about how rich they are getting. The rational thing to do might be to take some profits, to be cautious, to protect your gains. But what do most people do? They buy more, they get greedy, they invest money they cannot afford to lose because they do not want to miss out. They chase the gains, and they end up buying at the top right before the crash. Again, emotions win. Greed is more powerful than logic. Forward slash forward slash. This is the psychology of money. It is not about intelligence. It is about emotional control. The most successful investors in the world are not necessarily the smartest. They are the ones who can control their emotions. They are the ones who can stay calm when everyone else is panicking. And they are the ones who can resist the temptation to get greedy when everyone else is getting rich. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, has a famous saying, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." Easy to say, very hard to do, because it goes against every instinct you have. When everyone is scared, you want to be scared too. When everyone is greedy, you want to be greedy too. Going against the crowd is one of the hardest things you can do, but it is also one of the most profitable. Forward slash forward slash. Here's a distinction that most people never understand. Being rich and being wealthy are not the same thing. Being rich is about how much money you have coming in. It is about income. Being wealthy is about how much money you have saved. It is about your net worth. There are plenty of rich people who are not wealthy. They earn a lot of money, but they spend even more. They have a high income, but they have a low net worth. And then there are people who are wealthy. Without being rich, they are an ordinary income, but they save and invest so consistently that over time, their net worth grows into something significant. Forward slash forward slash. The difference comes down to one simple choice. Rich people spend money. Wealthy people keep money. Rich people buy things that make them look successful. Wealthy people buy things that make them more successful. Rich people buy liabilities, things that take money out of their pockets. Wealthy people buy assets, things that put money into their pockets. It is a simple distinction, but it changes everything. Forward slash forward slash. Think about James again. James has a high income. He is rich in the sense that a lot of money flows through his life, but he is not wealthy because most of that money flows right back out. He spends it on a big house, on expensive cars, on designer clothes, on fancy restaurants. Every time he gets a raise, his lifestyle expands to match. He is on a treadmill that never stops, always running, always earning, but never getting ahead. He looks rich, but he is not wealthy. Forward slash forward slash. Now think about Sarah. Sarah has a modest income. She is not rich in the sense that a lot of money flows through her life, but she is wealthy because she keeps most of what she earns. She lives below her means. She saves a significant portion of her income. She invests it consistently. Every time she gets a raise, she increases her savings rate. Instead of increasing her spending over time, her savings have grown into a significant portfolio. She does not look rich, but she is wealthy. Forward slash forward slash. The people you see driving luxury cars, wearing designer clothes, living in big houses, they might look rich, but many of them are one paycheck away from disaster. They are living on the edge, spending everything they earn and hoping nothing goes wrong. On the other hand, the people who are quietly building wealth, who are saving and investing, they are the ones who have true financial freedom. They do not need to impress anyone, because they are not playing that game. They are playing a different game, a more important game, the game of financial independence. There is a common misconception that financial success is about intelligence. People assume that if you are smart, if you have a good education, if you understand math and economics, you will automatically be good with money. But this is not true. There are plenty of brilliant people who make terrible financial decisions. Some of the most successful people in the world. People who are incredibly intelligent have made catastrophic financial mistakes. And there are plenty of average people with ordinary intelligence, who have built significant wealth. Why? Because managing money is not about intelligence. It is about behavior. It is about discipline. It is about emotional control. It is about patience. You can be a genius and still make bad decisions with money because your emotions get in the way, and you can be average and make good decisions because you have a discipline to stick to a plan. // Here is a classic example. Some of the smartest people in the world worked at a company called Long-Term Capital Management. It was a hedge fund founded by Nobel Prize winners, people with PhDs in economics, people who were mathematical geniuses. They had created complex models that they believed could predict the market, and for a while, they were incredibly successful, but then something happened that their models did not predict. The Russian government defaulted on its debt, and the markets went into chaos. The geniuses at Long-Term Capital Management had used so much leverage that the losses were catastrophic. The company collapsed and almost brought down the entire global financial system. All of the intelligence in the world could not save them because they had made the classic mistake. They had been too confident. They had taken too much risk, and they had not prepared for the unexpected. Intelligence is not a shield against bad decisions. It is often the opposite. Smart people often make the worst mistakes because they are too confident in their /abilities. They believe that they can outsmart the market, that they are exceptions to the rules, and that overconfidence is what destroys them. // On the other hand, there are people who are not financial geniuses, but who have built substantial wealth. They did it through simple, consistent, boring behavior. They saved money every month. No matter what, they invested in low-cost index funds and did not touch them. They lived below their means and did not try to impress anyone. They ignored the noise and stayed focused on their long-term plan. There is nothing impressive about this approach. There is nothing sexy about it, but it works because it is based on discipline, not intelligence. And discipline is something anyone can develop. // Here is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It is called compound interest. Albert Einstein is said to have called it the eighth wonder of the world, and it is the force that makes small, consistent actions grow into extraordinary results. Here is how it works. Imagine you invest $100, and it grows at 10% per year. After 1 year, you have $110. The next year, you do not just earn $10 on your original $100, you earn $11 because you're earning interest on your interest after 10 years. That $100 has become $259. After 30 years, it has become $1,745. After 50 years, it has become $11,739. $100 invested for 50 years at 10% becomes almost $12,000. That is the power of compound growth. // But here is the thing. Compound growth requires time, and time requires patience. Most people are not patient. They want results immediately. They want to get rich quickly. They want to find the next hot stock, the next Bitcoin, the next get-rich-quick scheme. And in their impatience, they lose their money. The people who build real wealth are the ones who are willing to wait. They start early, they invest consistently, and they let time do the work. Warren Buffett is the greatest example of this. He started investing when he was 11 years old. He has been investing for over 70 years. He is not necessarily the greatest investor in the world, but he is the most consistent, and that consistency, combined with decades of compound growth, has made him one of the richest people in the history of the world. Here is something that will surprise you. $81 billion of Warren Buffett's net worth came after his 65th birthday. He made almost all of his money in the last 20 years of his life. That is the power of time. // So why do not more people take advantage of compound growth? Because they do not believe it works. They look at the small amount they can invest and think it will never amount to anything. They say to themselves, what is the point of saving $50 a month? It will never make me rich. But they are wrong. $50 a month, invested for 40 years at the historical market average of 10%, grows to over $300,000. That is not nothing. That is a significant amount of money. And if you can save more, if you can invest more consistently, the numbers become even more staggering. The point is not to get rich overnight. The point is to start, because the earlier you start, the more time you have for compound growth to work as magic. Even small amounts, invested consistently, over long periods of time, can create significant wealth, //. Here is a truth that most people do not want to hear. The most important financial skill is not investing. It is not earning a high income. It is not even getting a good education. The most important financial skill is saving. Saving is a foundation of wealth. Because if you cannot save money, it does not matter how much you earn. You will never build wealth. The people who become wealthy, regardless of their income, are the ones who have mastered the art of saving. They understand that saving is not about deprivation. It is about freedom. Every dollar you save is a piece of freedom that you are buying. It is freedom from the fear of losing your job. It is freedom from the anxiety of unexpected expenses. It is freedom from the pressure of keeping up with others. And eventually, it is freedom from working a job you do not love, //. But most people do not think about saving this way. They see saving as a sacrifice, as something they have to do, as a tax on their life. They say to themselves, I work hard. I deserve to enjoy my money. And they are right. They do deserve to enjoy their money. But the problem is, they want to enjoy it now instead of saving it for later. They want the immediate pleasure of spending instead of the long-term freedom of saving. And this is a psychological trap that keeps most people poorer, //. Let me give you a different way to think about saving. Instead of thinking of saving as a sacrifice, think of it as buying your future self. Every dollar you save is a gift to your future self. It is giving your future self the ability to say no, to quit a job you hate, to start a business you believe in, to take care of your family without stress. When you spend money today, you are giving that money to your current self at the expense of your future self. When you save money today, you are giving that money to your future self at the expense of your current self. So the question is, which self do you care about more? The self that wants that new phone today, or the self that wants financial freedom in the future? //. There is a concept in psychology called delayed gratification. It is the ability to resist an immediate reward in order to get a larger reward later, and it is one of the most important predictors of success in life. There is a famous study called the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. Children were given a choice. They could eat one marshmallow immediately, or they could wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. The researchers followed these children for decades, and they found that the children who were able to wait, who were able to delay gratification, were more successful in every area of life. They had higher SAT scores, they had better jobs, they had more money, they were healthier, they were happier. The same principle applies to money. People who can delay gratification, who can resist the temptation to spend, are the people who build wealth. They understand that the pleasure of buying something today is not worth the pain of financial stress tomorrow. //. Here is something that most people do not want to admit. Luck plays a role in financial success, and so does risk. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how smart you are, no matter how disciplined you are, there are things that are outside of your control. Some people are born into wealthy families. Some people are born into poverty. Some people have access to excellent education. Some people have to drop out of school to support their families. Some people start businesses that succeed, and some people start businesses that fail. Even when they do everything right, this is a reality of life. And it is important to acknowledge it, //. But here is the danger. If you believe that success is all about luck, you will never take responsibility for your actions. You will blame your circumstances instead of taking action. You will say, rich people are just lucky. I am not lucky, so why bother trying? And you will stay stuck. On the other hand, if you believe that success is all about your own effort, you can become arrogant You can dismiss the role that luck played in your success, and you can become complacent. The truth is somewhere in between. Luck and risk both matter, but they are not the whole story. Bill Gates is incredibly successful. He is one of the richest people in the world. He is also incredibly lucky. He was born at the right time, in the right place, to the right family. He had access to a computer in 1968, when almost nobody else did. He dropped out of Harvard at exactly the right time to start Microsoft. If any of those things had been different, the world might not know Bill Gates. But here is the thing. Bill Gates also worked incredibly hard. He made brilliant decisions. He took calculated risks. He was persistent in the face of failure. Luck gave him the opportunity, but his own effort turned that opportunity into something extraordinary. The same is true for most successful people. They were lucky, but they also worked hard. They made smart decisions. They took risks. And the combination of luck and effort is what created their success. .. So what is the lesson here? Do not dismiss the role of luck, but do not use it as an excuse either. Acknowledge that there are things outside of your control, and then focus on the things that are inside your control. You cannot control whether you are born rich or poor. You cannot control what opportunities come your way, but you can control what you do with the opportunities you have. You can control how much you save. You can control how much you invest. You can control how much you learn. You can control how disciplined you are. And over time, those things add up. .. Let us look at the mindset of people who build wealth. They think differently about money, about risk, about success, about life, and understanding their mindset is the key to adopting it. First, wealthy people think long-term. They understand that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. They are not looking for the quick hit. They are looking for sustainable growth over time. They make decisions today with an eye on where they want to be in 20 or 30 years. Second, wealthy people think in terms of assets and liabilities. They understand that the goal is to own things that produce income and to avoid things that take income away. They buy assets. They avoid liabilities. Third, wealthy people are patient. They understand that compound growth takes time. They are willing to wait, to be disciplined, to stay the course even when things get difficult. Fourth, wealthy people are emotionally disciplined. They do not let fear or greed drive their decisions. They stay calm when everyone else is panicking, and they are cautious when everyone else is getting greedy. Fifth, wealthy people are frugal. They live below their means. Even when they can afford to live above them, they understand that the goal is not to look rich. It is to be wealthy. Six, wealthy people are constantly learning. They read books. They seek out mentors. They invest in their financial education. They understand that the world is always changing, and they need to keep up. Seventh, wealthy people take responsibility. They do not blame anyone else for their situation. They understand that their financial life is their own responsibility, and they act accordingly. .. Let me give you an example of this mindset in action. Imagine two people. Both are offered promotion at work. The promotion comes with a raise of $20,000. Person A, who does not have a wealthy mindset, immediately increases their spending. They buy a nicer car. They take a more expensive vacation. They eat out more often. At the end of the year, they have not saved any of the extra money. Person B, who has a wealthy mindset, does something different. They keep their lifestyle exactly the same. They take the extra $20,000 and they invest it. At the end of the year, they have $20,000 more in savings, plus whatever they earned on their investments. After 10 years, Person B has accumulated a significant amount of wealth. Person A has accumulated nothing. Same income, different outcomes, different mindsets. .. Here is the most important insight. The difference is not about money. It is about what you do with it. Person A used the money to buy things, to impress people, to make themselves feel good in the moment. Person B used the money to buy freedom, to build security, to invest in their future. Person A was thinking about today. Person B was thinking about tomorrow. And that small difference in thinking, compounded over time, created a massive difference in outcomes. .. We have covered a lot of ground. We have talked about the psychology of money, the difference between being rich and being wealthy, why smart people make bad decisions, the power of compound growth, the importance of saving, the role of luck and risk, and how wealthy people think differently. But here is the question that matters most. What is your money philosophy? Do you have one? Most people do not. They never take the time to think about what they believe about money. They just react. They respond to their environment. They do what everyone else is doing, and that is why they end up with average results. Because you cannot achieve exceptional results with average thinking. //. So let me help you build a money philosophy. Here are some questions to ask yourself. What is the purpose of money in your life? Is it to buy things? Or is it to buy freedom? Is it to impress other people? Or is it to give you choices? Is it something you chase or something you build? What is your relationship with money? Do you see it as scarce or abundant? Do you feel anxious about it or confident? Do you understand it or avoid thinking about it? What are your financial goals? Not the goals you think you should have. The goals you actually want. What would you do with your life if you did not need to work for money? What kind of future do you want to create for yourself and your family? //. Once you have answered these questions, you can start to build a philosophy, and your philosophy becomes a compass. It guides your decisions, even when you are tired, even when you're scared, even when everyone else is doing something different. Because having a philosophy means you are not just reacting. You are making decisions based on your values. And that is the key to long-term success. //. Let me give you some examples of money philosophies. Warren Buffett has a simple philosophy. He buys businesses that he understands, that have durable competitive advantages, and that are run by honest and capable managers. He holds them for the long term, and he never sells them. That philosophy has served him well for decades. Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money, has a different philosophy. He focuses on the behaviors that matter most: saving, patience, humility. He understands that financial success is not about being right all the time. It is about avoiding the big mistakes. His philosophy is simple: stay humble, stay patient, stay consistent. Naval Ravikant, the investor and entrepreneur, has a philosophy based on specific knowledge and leverage. He believes in finding what you are uniquely good at, and then using technology and capital to multiply your impact. His philosophy is about creating value and capturing a fraction of that value. //. You need to find your own philosophy, not someone else's, your own. Because if you borrow someone else's philosophy, it will not stick. You will abandon it when things get difficult. But if you build your own philosophy based on your own values and experiences, it will become a part of who you are, and that is when it becomes powerful. //. Here are some principles to consider as you build your philosophy. First, pay yourself first before you pay anyone else. Before you pay your bills, before you buy anything, put money into savings and investments. This should be non-negotiable. Second, live below your means. No matter how much you earn, spend less than you make. The gap between your income and your spending is the source of your wealth. Third, invest consistently. Put money into the market every month. No matter what is happening, do not try to time a market. Just keep investing. Fourth, stay humble. The market is unpredictable. You'll be wrong sometimes. That is okay. Admit your mistakes. Learn from them and move on. Fifth, be patient. Wealth takes time. Do not rush it. The slow path is the fast path. Six, control your emotions. Fear and greed are your enemies. Stay calm. Stay rational. Seventh, keep learning. The world changes. You need to change with it. Read books. Listen to podcasts. Take courses. Never stop investing in your own education. //. Let me tell you about the real cost of poor financial decisions. It is not just the money you lose. It is the stress, the anxiety, the sleepless nights. It is the strain on your relationships, the arguments with your spouse, the shame you feel when you cannot provide for your family. It is the dreams you give up, the opportunities you let pass, the life you wanted but never lived. This is the cost of not taking control of your finances. And it is a heavy cost. Every time you make a poor financial decision, You're not just losing money. You're losing freedom. You're losing peace of mind. You're losing the future you could have had, forward slash, forward slash. Think about the people who never get their finances in order. They spend their entire lives stressed about money. They worry about every unexpected expense. They avoid opening their bank accounts because they are afraid of what they will see. They argue with their spouses about money, and those arguments damage their relationships. They stay in jobs they hate because they cannot afford to leave. They never have the freedom to pursue their dreams. They get the end of their lives full of regret, wondering what could have been. This is the tragedy of financial mismanagement, and it is completely avoidable. Forward slash, forward slash. Now think about the opposite. Think about people who have their finances in order. They sleep well at night because they know they are prepared for emergencies. They have freedom to make choices because they have built up savings. They can pursue work they love because they are not dependent on a paycheck. They can take care of the people they love because they have the resources to do so. They can enjoy their lives without constant financial stress. They have peace of mind. That is what financial success buys you, not just things, but freedom, security, peace, and that is worth working for. Forward slash, forward slash. There is one more thing to consider. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Not just financially, but in terms of the example you set for the people around you. The way you handle money teaches your children how to handle money. If you are constantly stressed about money, if you're always spending money you do not have, if you're always trying to keep up with others, your children will learn that behavior. They will grow up with the same fears, the same mistakes, the same struggles, and the cycle will continue. Forward slash, forward slash. But if you handle money wisely, if you're disciplined, if you save and invest, if you live below your means, your children will learn from that as well. They will learn that it is possible to build wealth, that patience and discipline are valuable, that financial freedom is worth working for. You will be passing on something more valuable than money. You will be passing on knowledge, habits, values, and those things will benefit your family for generations. That is a powerful legacy. Forward slash, forward slash. Let me leave you with this. Building wealth is not complicated, but it is difficult. The concepts are simple. Save more than you earn. Invest the difference. Be patient. Control your emotions. But the execution is hard. It requires discipline when you want to give up. It requires patience when you want results now. It requires humility when you want to be right. It requires courage when everyone else is scared. And that is why so few people do it. They are not willing to put in the work. They are not willing to make the sacrifices. They are not willing to delay gratification. They want the reward without the effort, and that is why they never get what they want. Forward slash, forward slash. But you can be different. You can decide today that you are going to take control of your financial future. You can decide today that you're going to build wealth, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. You can decide today that you're going to be patient, disciplined, humble, and consistent. You can decide today that you're going to stop reacting and start building. You can decide today that you are going to be the 1% who understands that money is not about numbers. It is about behavior. The 1% who understands that wealth is not about income. It is about net worth. The 1% who understands that financial freedom is not about luck. It is about decisions. The 1% who understands that the psychology of money is the most important financial skill of all. Forward slash, forward slash. You are not stuck. You are choosing to stay, and you can choose differently right now. In this moment, you can choose to start, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now, because the future does not wait. Your future self is already counting on you. Do not let them down. Forward slash, forward slash. Thank you for listening. If this message meant something to you, take 5 minutes right now. Write down 3 things you will do differently with money starting today. Not next week. Today, because the path to wealth begins with a single step, and the best time to take that step is right now. Forward slash, forward slash. Go. Start building your financial freedom. Your future self is waiting. They're already grateful that you made this choice. Now make it real. //